Aha! I gotcha in my last video saying that Rekka no Ken is the best Fire Emblem game. It was all just clickbait, but it is honestly my favorite, and I believe it sets the standards for the series. I like to use it as the baseline, and only a year after its release came a new Fire Emblem game to the GBA. In 2004, Nintendo and Intelligent Systems released Fire Emblem: The Sacred Stones, the 8th in the series, the 3rd on the GBA, and only the 2nd game to come out in North America and Europe. Continuing with the newfound international following, Sacred Stones aimed to push the series further, and ultimately some people in the community consider it the best in the series. Let us dig deeper and discuss how it mixes up the formula and how it paved the way for the future of the series as it stands today. My name is Kevin, and for Beyond Polygons, this is why Fire Emblem: The Sacred Stones is actually the best Fire Emblem game. For some people, remember, this is all clickbait. I won't drone on about the presentation too much. Again, this is the GBA, and that means glorious sprite art. There are a lot of new units in this game, however, and all have their own unique sprite animations. Obviously, the lords look great. Rekka has this flow to her movement, and though Ephraim's animation is kinda basic, being the only ever Lance Lord, Ephraim for Smash, please, it's honestly passable, and the crit is awesome. As for the other notable classes, the Grey Knight really captures its big and powerful swings, Mage Knights are like cooler Valkyries, and the Ranger looks nice, but will never compare to the Nomad Trooper of the previous games. The whole horse jumped. Like, what is this? They took this out? And generals can use swords now, and oh, that's a big sword. And a impressive crit animation. There are the new recruit classes, and these are young, plucky, pre-promoted units. Their animations captures their inexperience. It's good stuff. These and the other new classes will come up in the gameplay section. But alright, there's also monsters in this game. This is one of Sacred Stones' claims to fame. They're even featured in the card game. There's the disposable monsters, magic-based monsters, and other monsters with big wonky stats. They mix up the gameplay. Each one has a special means to be handled. Once the Cyclops come in, they're kinda challenging. Oh, right, visually, they look big and scary, but yet still fit in this colorful art style. I love it. I don't know what these are, but oh god, that's creepy. It all gives a unique look to Sacred Stones, even though it shares a lot of assets with the other GBA games. It cleans them up, it's more detailed, and adds new designs. It definitely feels like a perfection of the GBA graphics. The UI has an ornate design, and the colors overall have a lot heavier blacks yet more saturation compared to the other GBA games. This darker color scheme looks so far evolved compared to the prior games. As for the music, it is of similar sound quality to 6 and 7, but many of the tracks are original. Again, part of how Sacred Stone stands out. It managed to move on from the Alib continent, introduced a whole new setting and characters and themes, and the music feels more prolific compared to the other games. That is something to appreciate. Screw Together We Ride, I much prefer Comrades. Alright, we also gotta get this story out of the way because, frankly, it's forgettable. Taking place on the continent of Magvale, Sacred Stones is the only title to feature this world. Every other game is at least loosely tied to another game or universe, or gets a full-on sequel or follow-up. And frankly, it makes sense. Sacred Stones isn't really touted for its story, so this world didn't really need to be revisited, but I wish they did. Coming off the backs of 6 and 7, which had great world building, this one feels rushed. It's the same political drama, but the dark magic guy was actually the real bad guy all along. Except this time, it's even more predictable. Cold open. Story begins with one of the twin heirs to the throne of Renee's, Rekka, having to retreat from the invading Grotto Empire, who suddenly have a lust for power. Yep, the kingdom we represent in this game is a kingdom that is only ever known for being conquered by the tyrannical kingdom next door. What? The very first thing we see in this game is them already giving up and losing. They're right next door to this Grotto Empire, and the story even says that the Grotto Empire is the most powerful empire, so you would think if you live next door to them and You don't get, wouldn't you invest in military? I know this is sounding long-winded, but like this whole game is long-winded. The other and more renowned heir to the throne, Ephraim, went on a mission to Castle Renval in Northern Grotto, only to be, spoiler alert, but it's not that big of a deal, trapped inside the castle walls, but then it turns out one of his retainers is a traitor. What? That's sad. And the reason why is actually really messed up. And on top of all of this, the king is dead. Wouldn't be a Fire Emblem game without some political figure dying. This time they just get it right out of the way. The first act of the game sees Rekka and her trusty better-than-Jagan paladin protector Seth on a quest to find and save Ephraim. Ephraim just so happens to be the only one strong enough to handle this invasion and this entire war that's just broke out. I guess Ephraim's just a badass like that. He totally is. He should be in Smash. This first act holds all the tutorial stuff, and then the twins reunite, which for the record is like their entire personality. We get it, they're twins! Then players get to choose which twin they want to use for the next few chapters. The story is that they're covering separate objectives, but ultimately it's just a retaliatory flank attack on the Grotto Empire. This split sounds great in concept, but it's only 6 chapters. Also, there's only one Gaiden chapter in this whole game, and it's not even hidden. In fact, you're forced to play it. It's just so Ephraim gets some screen time during that first arc. And there's no denying that Ephraim is just a better unit than Rekka. They should put him in Smash. This really invalidates the fun of playing through different stories. I get that the twins are both supposed to be the stars, but it doesn't feel like you're getting even time with both of them. Choosing Ephraim's side is just slightly different dialogue, and you get a couple different characters, but y'all reunite in the end anyway. And no matter which playthrough, Rekka is forgettable and Ephraim is the better unit, but barely gets character development at all. And that's pretty much exactly what Rekka and Ephraim talk about. It's just Ephraim saying he'll always care for his sister and protect Renee's. And she's just like, I'm growing stronger because I look up to how strong you are. It's just so basic. They do have their sweet moments. Rekka wants to become strong because she doesn't want to rely on people anymore. But that's her entire character. Ephraim seems just bland, honorable for honor's sake. And after the twins reunite, again, they team up to recapture their home castle of Renee's. And then they head into the final act of the game, where they take on their childhood friend, Lion, who is the dark magic guy who was behind it all along. Alright, the villain of the whole game. Despite how 50% of the chapters talk about Lion, I can explain the whole story very simply. Rekka and Ephraim used to be best friends with him, and now he's corrupted by a demon. And that's the basis for this entire story. The game is just constantly about reminiscing how close they used to be, and it's so cheesy. The demon himself even likes to say, "Oh, I have no use for this human frailty," and then he speaks really nicely to him only to stab him in the back. It's just... dang it, I got cliched. I get it that they're trying to separate Lion from the demon and they're trying to add this weight because they have to fight their best friend. But, you know, spoiler alert, moral of the story is if your friend is possessed by a demon, you kill him. That's it. And yeah, that's pretty much the story. I don't think it's bad, just cliche. There is a supporting cast, but because the game is about the 5 kingdoms, everyone's reason for getting involved is just kind of this, hey, yo, yeah, we're from this kingdom, and those Grotto guys are coming here breaking our stuff and our sacred stone. Can we help you guys stop them, please? And that's when the title comes in. The stones are just a plot device that is supposed to seal this demon, and has been sealing the demons for the past 800 years. And after 4 of them have been destroyed and you get to the end of the game, you got 1 stone left that's supposed to stop this demon, but what does Larachild tell you? I know the stones are powerful, but it's about believing in yourself! Oh, okay, so these stones actually meant nothing. Story-wise and even character-wise, it's not a lot to write home about. I discovered the YouTube channel Ghaststation that has a series called Support Science, where they look into the lore and character development of Fire Emblem characters. Great videos, well produced, well researched, and of course they cover some of the Rekka no Ken characters. But yet, with multiple videos on Rekka no Ken, there was but 1 video on Sacred Stones, and they chose Garrett, of all people? I guess I didn't know that much about him. It's a good video, check it out. But there's a reason he hasn't covered like the main characters or anything. Though there is some lore to dig into, it never got me personally invested. But hey, you know what, maybe this is me calling out to you, Ghast. Surprise me. I'm sure it's not All bad, plus I would love to read for an episode if I could. Everyone fits into the story somehow, but their personalities are one note. I mean, Ross is great. He's super punky. Ah, come on, Dad. I want to be as strong as you someday. He has personality, but doesn't have character. Lute, the mage, is a brainiac and can recite old texts and sources verbatim. You get it? She's a mage of superior wisdom and rare ability. Oh, what a witty character and not boring at all. But this does explain why she has a ridiculously high magic stat. And I guess that's a good segue. The characters might not be fleshed out, but it's almost like their personalities match with their stats. And now that we're through with the story, Sacred Stones makes up for any downsides that it might have had here through its gameplay. Like, very noticeably. The gameplay's really good. In the last video, I went over the 3 things that I feel like give Fire Emblem its iconic gameplay. So for Sacred Stones, the permanent death is exactly the same as one would expect. The support system is the same as the other GBA games. It's a little restrictive, but it's a nice little, additive to mix up the gameplay. But with the chapter-based progression, it finally introduces the map screen, and this brought out a whole other side of the Fire Emblem series. Gaiden had a map screen too, but I know you guys probably didn't play that one. It's way better in Echoes anyway. Plus, this is a little bit simpler to understand. In between each chapter, players get to move between previous levels, and sometimes there are monsters to fight, which are good places to train, but this also means players can revisit shops and armories and stock up before tackling the next chapter. This streamlines the entire RPG side of Fire Emblem. Level giving you some trouble? No reset runs got you out of units? Just train up! Heck, are the skirmish maps a little too difficult? Go train on that first floor of the Tower of Valny, and you can do that infinite times until everyone's at a good enough level. This is also the first game to have branching class changes, and some of the classes are completely new. Mages can become either a sage, like before, or the new Mage Knight. Mercenaries can become the hero, or they can become the ranger. Archers can also become rangers instead of the classic sniper. There are also the 3 recruit characters: Ross the axe user, Amelia the lance user, and Ewan the young mage, each getting to branch twice, giving them 3 different final products. Don't make Ewan a summoner. It technically has 4, but it's not worth it. Because of the grinding opportunities presented and the branching classes, you can really build your team with a lot more control and direction. I remember as a kid thinking, what if I made as many Great Knights as possible? And you can with a total of 5 possible Great Knights. Though that's a silly idea, you have that level of control. I've done runs where I've used the same character in different ways. This is replayability. I just want to experiment with all the options. Too bad the story sucks, so I skip through it just to get to the good stuff anyways. This all just builds on the best parts of Fire Emblem's gameplay. You plan out your supports, you make everyone the unit you want them to be, and if a level's too difficult, hey, just level up some more. Okay, I guess that's the double-edged sword here. Sacred Stones is easy. No matter how difficult a level is, you can always just train more. And if you're over-leveled, it's just way too easy to run around stomping enemies. But I guess that is a lot of fun, isn't it? This will vary for everyone, but I feel like the chapters themselves become less exciting. Though the grinding definitely shows its reward and late game Ross just utterly wrecks house, you lose the strategy of training units within the chapters. I know you can just avoid grinding altogether and try to play each level as you did in the prior games, but I shouldn't have to make that choice. Plus, trying to train within the chapters feels more like a hassle, while the other more capable units can just stomp their way to the boss anyways. This leads to generally weaker level design, and it's not bad. There are definitely some great levels in here. It's just there's also a lot of forgettable ones. You even get a Manakete in this game, something that wasn't in 7, technically. Mir is pretty much the, hey, do you need help killing bosses? Here, let me just... There's even a chance that Mir can one-shot the final boss. It has less health than the final boss of Rekka no Ken. You see, the game's just easy. Now, I'd be remiss if I didn't mention the post-game content, or really the fact that this game actually has a post-game, the rest of the Tower of Valny and the Lagdu Ruins. These are marathons of monster-filled battles. Be prepared, you can't duck out early without going back to the beginning. The tower is pretty easy, you could actually do it during the main game, but beating it now unlocks some of the enemy leaders to use in the post-game. The ruins, however, are actually difficult, but you do get other units for beating this as well, including Lion himself. But what's the point? This was supposed to be the hardest challenge in the game. This is a fun little distraction, and it's a great way to show off how strong your units have become. And the recruits themselves get a new class option after you beat the game twice, using both Rekka and Ephraim. So there's a reason for at least like 3 playthroughs. Sadly, the story is still forgettable, but some of the supports are fun to read through. All in all, the gameplay is fantastic and worth playing through. It's not bad by any means. There's a reason this series has moved more towards this style. Heck, Awakening is praised for saving the series because it plays just like it, except, you know, newer, and in some ways I want to say better. In the RPG world, being able to grind is a good thing. Nobody wants to be stuck on a level. In all the games prior that didn't have this map screen, you can lock yourself into an unwinnable situation if you let too many units die on the battlefield. Trust me, I did it in Genealogy, and that was a big mistake there. But that is the key importance, understanding this shift in ideology. I appreciate Sacred Stones and all the games after it, I just prefer what Rekka no Ken and the other games do, where I have to factor in my grinding within the levels. That in itself really enhances the overall strategy and tactics and story that can all be mixed into a chapter. This is an objective difference between the games, and I just prefer more the style of 6 and 7 and 4 and 5. I haven't played 5 yet. But 8 has its merits because it feels great to build a super unit. There's no denying that I can play Sacred Stones multiple times and mess with units and try new things and get new supports much as I have in other games. It's just the story and characters that bring it down for me. Luckily, it's a short game. You can get to the post-game with your super units fairly quickly, because if you're grinding a lot, man, the game is walk in the park. I will remember characters more for their stats and how well they fought rather than their actual character traits. Like I said, Ephraim actually has good stats, and when Rekka's going on about how strong he is, well, she's right. I remember watching Ross stomp things, but I barely know why he's here, just that Garcia is his dad. But I guess that's part of the story, that he wants to be as strong as him someday. I did a run where I trained Mulder. For the record, guy is boring to read any of his support conversations, but he's the first priest in the game. I gave him all the stat boosts, and he just ends up having really wonky stats, like luck, speed, and constitution are his top stats. It's so weird, but he works as this dodgy, fast but low damage bishop. It's so weird. Even the run I used for this footage, where I got Gilliam using the killing edge, I had to plan around this, and then I thought, you know what, if Gilliam's gonna be my main sword user, maybe I can work with that. And now I've built my team around him being a sword-based general, and this is the fun of team planning in Fire Emblem, and Sacred Stones led the way for games like Awakening and Fates to really perfect this idea, and kinda slacked on the story. But it's okay here, because you add in the beautiful GBA sprite art and challenging post-game, it's worth playing through multiple times. I'm sure this isn't everyone's favorite, and I know that the hyperbole of this title really might rub people the wrong way. But there's no denying that going back to Sacred Stones is still great, and going back to Rekka no Ken's great too. Even though the story is lacking, the fun of being able to grow and build a team the way you want is something that many Fire Emblem fans have taken to. No matter the level of thought and time poured into the team planning, the supports, or otherwise, Sacred Stones plays very well today and ranks highly for a lot of people who've played it. I just value the less is more style of the prior titles. I would love to see another game take place in this region though. It was underdeveloped. Is it actually the best? Maybe for its time. This was definitely revolutionary, and I can get past the story because the gameplay is seriously that good. Just for bringing in the modernized grinding and team building opportunities. I love reading the comments on these videos. It's interesting how so many people can praise Fire Emblem for different reasons. Some like the story like I do, and others really like the deep customization. I found people who like Fire Emblem 6 even though I didn't really care for it, and some like Path of Radiance, and I gotta go back and play that. And some people even have soft spots for Fates and even Shadow Dragon. Maybe, Sacred Stones, though, really continued the hype of the prior game, especially in the West and Europe. This was proving that Fire Emblem had the potential to carry on as a Nintendo franchise. The new features blew our minds. Just the branching classes alone were enough to make us go, I wonder how Ross would work as a hero. Whether this is or isn't your favorite, leave your comments down below. Let me know what you think. Let's have a discussion. And as always, thanks for watching. Oh, also, I'm not sure what game I want to do next. Awakening, Path of Radiance, maybe FE6? Maybe another one altogether. I also want to talk about the card game at some point. Let me know about that too. Also, Ephraim for Smash.